Do you need a license or something from me for the notary? No. Oh, okay. Yes, we have.
That was on tape.
It's true. I'll give it to Steve.
It says Rita Mullen. I really appreciate it.
I just don't want to see it go through the wash machine at home.
Yeah, I think.
Say that in there.
It would not be pretty.
Thank you very much.
Thank
you.
Thank you. This has been a historic week and a
Yeah,
and a
sure
day
has. Been
associated
quite-
with collecting money.
Quite unlike any other we've seen. I'll see you. Good night.
Okay, next item on our agenda is discussion of a hiring freeze. And start with Mr. Pelicanis.
Board members, they provided you, I think it was a well-written letter that was in the packet from the school department. About that there was a letter from the superintendent of schools, and I gave you a copy of it because I thought that it was particularly relevant to address a number of items to achieve cost savings for this year's budget. One of the central issues was a budget freeze, but also the position taken on hirings. And the memo goes on to state that we're not assuming that any vacancy will be filled automatically. And in this case, the superintendent of schools will be looking at each vacancy on a case-by-case basis to determine whether or not they can do without the position for the remainder of the year or during a period of leave. I feel that given the uncertainty over the budget, I think that such an action would be appropriate by this board. It's also something that if you follow the newspapers, you'll see other cities and towns doing virtually the same thing. Not asking that we completely ignore the fact that there are some essential positions that we may need to address going forward, but as a rule of thumb, I think as the policy-making board in this town, it would be a sound fiscal practice to consider establishing the same for the remainder of this fiscal year.
I certainly would agree with that, and would request if, in fact, an event comes up where there is a position that absolutely needs to be filled, that you bring it to the board first. Other comments, Mr.
I agree, Mr. Chairman.
Mr.
We've taken a position where we had one police officer retire, chosen not to fill that position. If we're not filling that position, I think there's other positions in town that if there is a vacancy, then unless it's determined to be essential and necessary, then that position should remain vacant, especially considering the budget issues that we're facing. I'd rather leave the position unfilled than fill it and then have to, hopefully not, but if we're in a position where we have to do layoffs, I would hate to go back and lay that particular person off. I'd like to see other measures taken, and I think hiring freeze is probably the best way to proceed given current economic and budget constraints which we're under.
Mr. Vino.
I guess I just want to be clear on this. So if a position becomes vacant, it will be the board who will decide, or will it be Mr. Valiakonis who will decide to fill this?
I guess the way I think the process is, Mr. Valiakonis, if he feels that he needs to fill a position, I've just asked that he bring it before the board prior to doing so. Yes. Yes.
I don't think my question still got answered. I mean, it would be filled if Mr. Valiakonis felt it was, I'm
No,
just
I
trying to
would-
find out.
I would come to the board and make a recommendation and ultimately leave it to the board as to whether you want to.
Okay, so it would be the board.
I would
It be
recommend.
the board, okay.
Yes, I would
That's what I was wondering. Who would be the ultimate, and would be the board, okay.
Okay, other comments? I believe we have a motion. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, Luann.
Did that include revolving fund accounts? The revolving account as well? Same procedure?
I would think the same procedure would probably apply, we just want to take a
Same
look at it.
process, but we would understand where the money was coming from. What? Effective date
I-
is now.
I just want to say, I still have somewhat of a problem with this. Because it's not a true hiring freeze. You know, I spoke about this a month or so ago when we talked about it, and I'm just not comfortable with a hiring freeze for certain positions, and some won't be affected and some will be affected. I just can't, I just can't embrace this policy yet. I'm sorry.
Joe, I guess I'm a little confused as to why
Pardon?
you can't, I said I'm a little confused as to why you can't.
Well-
I think this is, if I might, just put that.
Well, let me give you a prime example, if I may, and I'm just gonna pick one office in this town hall. If in fact we had somebody leave the town clerk's office within the last month, that office would have been devastated. And I don't know what this board would have done, but I know this, well, I don't wanna say that. I don't know what this board would have done.
I think the idea here, Joe, is this, and let's use that as an example.
Yeah.
There would have been two options. Mr. Valiakonis could have, actually three options. One option would have been to shift some other resources that may not be quite as busy to the town's clerk office to help out in preparation for the election. I'm assuming that's what you're alluding to.
Yeah, well, yeah, in this
Two
particular.
is to bring in temporary help for that period of time required. And three is, if it was absolutely essential that an employee be hired, he would take it to the board and ask, and make a recommendation to hire somebody, at which point we would have to make a decision.
No, I understand what you're saying, I just can't,
Yeah, I mean, clearly,
Just
there are
can't
times
grasp
of the
this yet.
year where certain departments are impacted, you know, more severely. And
Right.
it's not like we don't have, there's only one person. There are other people at town hall, perhaps during that period of time, are less busy, and the priority of what they're doing could be put off for a period of time to deal with a higher priority.
I think everyone at town hall is pretty much busy with the things that have been going on, but, I'm gonna be voting against this, I'm just not comfortable with it at this time.
Okay, further discussion, Mr. O'Leary.
You know, I envisioned this the same way as the chair explained it. And, you know, I think, you know, these are extraordinary times, and I think we, at times we'll have to call upon our other employees at times to kick in a little bit more, do things that are a little bit out of the ordinary, where they might have to get shifted from their department to another on a temporary basis. And, you know, they're not used to that, and it's not a usual happenstance, but unfortunately, I think we do have to take a close look, and that over 4% of our budget is personnel, it's salaries. So the only way that we can reasonably expect to manage our way through this crisis is to manage our people more efficiently. So I think it's a good idea that the administrator is willing to bring these recommendations to us, and also it keeps us more in the loop as far as awareness in relation to what's going on in town hall, what the demands are, and how we're going to meet them. I think it's a good step right now.
If I may, I wish I could agree with that, Steve, but I can't, because that infers that we have town employees with time on their hands.
Quite the contrary.
If we take them away to do another job, who's gonna do their job?
It's a
So it's
question-
just,
yeah, no,
it's just a
I look
snowball
at-
effect.
I look upon it
Yeah.
as, I see compounding problems, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
just think-
okay,
I
well,
just-
you
I
didn't
just
make it
think
sound
there's-
that way.
I just think there's I'm sorry, I
Yeah.
didn't mean that at all. I just think that at different times, we have to prioritize the personnel that we have, the use of the personnel that we have. And if it means putting off a particular project or certain functions for a given period of time, for a short period of time, as we said during this election cycle, then so be it. But, it's for the administrator to help, make us aware as to how things are functioning or not functioning. But no, I didn't mean to, forgive me if I misunderstood you, to infer that anybody isn't working hard to their full potential. I think we're getting an honest day's work for an honest day's pay from everybody in town hall. I just think resources are, excuse me, economic resources are tight, and human resources are gonna be even fewer and scarcer at this particular point in time, so. So I'm in favor of it.
Yeah, I'll add one other comment, Joe. As we go downstream, the longer we wait to make this adjustment, the more in jeopardy we put our existing employees. And from the point of view, if we have to make cuts as we go downstream here.
Oh, I understand that.
You know, those cuts could very well come in the form of layoffs. And at least this way, we're not laying somebody off. Okay, any other comments?
We're not unique. I mean, if you just pay attention to current events, I mean, whether it's public or private sector, everyone's going through this. And the better option is to leave the position vacant versus filling that position and then have to lay that person off. That's what I want to avoid.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
We haven't actually read the motion
Oh,
yet.
I'm sorry. Jumping the gun.
That's all I see.
It's all right.
Thank you, Michael.
Mr.
You never
Chairman,
knew what they're voting for.
Mr. Chairman, I move the Board of Selectmen enact a hiring freeze for municipal job positions effective immediately and direct the town administrator to fill only those vacancies he deems essential after providing notice to the board of his actions.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Harris, seconded by Mr. O'Leary. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
4 to 1. Next item on our agenda is to discuss FY09 budget revenue estimates. I think, as you recall, at our last meeting, I was projecting a shortfall in our budget of $751,000 or $752,000. Some things have changed since last week.